The best salespeople in the world are the ones who do it without you even noticing. Everyone's a salesperson, especially if you're an entrepreneur. In the I'm Not Salesy podcast, join me, Cassie McKenzie, and my fabulous guests as we dive into the top strategies, mindset, and energetics around sales and money so that you can hear more "yes, I'm in" instead of crickets or getting ghosted. So if you're ready to fully book out your programs with aligned AF clients and have people chasing you down in your inbox asking how to work with you, then subscribe to this podcast today and become not salesy too. Oh my God, I am so pumped for this conversation. Y'all are in for a treat. And I already have so many, like sometimes I get on these podcast episodes and I'm like, where do I even begin? But I'm like, where do I even begin? So I'm excited for my guest today, Bre Cain. She is a super freaking mom, superstar. She helps moms become build VA businesses so that you don't have to go and work for, corporate Carl and put your pumps on for the first time since you've been wearing slippers and flip-flops for like the last 3 years and leave your babies at home. I know this resonates so much with me because, gosh, I did not want to leave the house after having my kids. I actually am one of those freaks that likes being around my kids, even though they tend to start driving you nuts sometimes, but you love it still. It's like a weird thing. So,
Yeah.
Bre, welcome to I'm Not Salesy. I'm so thrilled that you're my guest this week.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Cassie.
Oh my God, this is so good. So, y'all, this is such perfect timing because, and I want you to tell your story, which I know you will. But she just hit a huge milestone this week in her business. And I have to tell you, like straight off the bat, you are so genuine. Like I saw your Insta stories. I'm like, I want to be a VA to work with you. You know what I mean? Like it's so genuine and it's so hard to find, I feel like, because especially as people grow their businesses, they become like too big for their britches, as my grandma used to say. But like Bre honestly cares so much about her clients, and it was just like it like, and it like lit something in me too, watching your success as well. I mean, obviously watching your success, but like how like how tied to your clients you are. I think it's amazing. So tell everybody who you are and how you created this mom to VA empire.
Yes, absolutely. So, first and foremost, mom of three young girls, ages 6, 5, and 2. And originally, when I had my first baby, I went back to work. I think a lot of us probably grew up in the era where success was defined by the corporate ladder and raises and promotions, and that was your worth and identity because there wasn't really another way when I was growing up. The online world was absolutely not what it is today. And so that was it. That was the pathway. And I couldn't, even after having my first baby, I was so torn. Like, I want to be home, but like,
Yeah.
this is who I am. Like, this is my identity. And what would I be without that? Because that was, what I'd focused on my entire adulthood. I had my first baby, I think, right before I turned 30. So, 30 years of that.
Yeah.
Uh, but I only made it 3 months in
Yeah.
my job. I cried every day. It's like, F this. Like, this is
Yeah.
not what I signed up for in motherhood, not what I want out of motherhood. Um, and so I came home and I wanted that connection, purpose, identity, and autonomy still. And the way that I saw that I could still potentially have that was actually in the direct sales industry. So that's how I started out in online business. And it was really fun. I did that for 5 years, had two more kids, and got to travel, speak on stage. I saw some success, made amazing friends. But I also, like, when I hit number one in sales in my company, the commissions on that were our monthly grocery bill as a family of five. And I was
Yeah.
literally working around the clock. Like, that's really not the vibe.
What kind of product were you selling at the time?
Yeah, so I started out in skincare, and then my skin's really sensitive though, and my skin like broke out like crazy. I was like, okay, I can't authentically sell this. It
Right.
doesn't work for
Yeah.
me. So I moved into, it was a lifestyle brand, but they sold clothing,
Okay.
athleisure, and all of that. It was super fun because I
Yeah.
love clothes. Um, but yeah, the ROI, I would say on like selling a pair of leggings, for example, is not going to change your family's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my husband said something to me in the summer of 2022. He said, all of that time and energy you're putting into someone else's business, what if you put that into your own business? And that really landed like deep in every fiber of my being. And instantly I was like, yeah, like the direct sales feels super out of alignment. Like I could
Mhm.
create something of my own, but I had no idea what that would look like, what that could be. One of the first things I did was hire a business mentor to try and figure that out.
Yeah.
And I kept hiring mentors. And I think that was when we met, Cassie, was when I
Yeah.
was in the midst of kind of figuring out like what the heck I was going to do next.
Yeah.
However, 6 months into investing in mentorship and taking the actions that scared me shitless and like, doing the thing, I'd earned $132 total.
Yeah.
And was like, okay, I got to figure something out. My husband's like, maybe it's time. Like we talk about a job and go back to a 9 to 5. Like, because even too, in the midst of that, the economy, like gas, groceries, everything felt like it doubled, but corporate salaries weren't doubling. Finance
No.
really tight.
Mhm.
And in that like crux of like in juxtaposition of feeling like I had to give up motherhood to
Yeah.
like family financially was when I found the virtual assistant industry.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what I loved is it's so flexible and you get to use the skill set that you already had. You had a corporate career, you haven't even stepped foot in the office in, 5+ years. You can still use those skills. They're still an asset. In 3 days, I had booked a 2K a month client. And in 30 days, I booked 4 clients. My first full month as a VA, I hit 5K month. So I was like, what the F? Like, what is this? This is the world's best kept secret for moms. Like, how is not everyone talking about this? Like, this is wild. This is bananas. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
And everyone, what are you doing, Bre? Like, how are you doing that? And it's like, well, let me show you. Well, let me show you. I got you. And this was how Mom to VA started. And it just, I mean, the second it launched, like I sold 8 spots into the founding cohort in a week. And
Mhm. I remember that.
yeah, I was like, whoa, like what is this? This is, best thing ever. The program's been running for over a year now. We've helped over 200 moms launch, book out their businesses, and it's the VA industry, but it's so much more. It's about getting to have it all within motherhood without having to sacrifice anything.
Yeah. Oh, totally. 100%. I remember when I had Liam, I was 37. We lived in San Diego and my husband was still like in the process of he had never had a land job before because he'd always worked on super yachts. So my when I had to go back after maternity leave, I remember like counting down maternity leave and getting like more depressed as it came. And then when I went back, I just had no like fire in me to do anything. I felt like it was such a waste of time, but I'm like, but luckily I was in pharmaceutical sales, so I worked from home. I had always worked from home. So I was able to like get out by 9 and be back by 1. You know what I mean? Like be away for like a handful of hours and then pass the baton to my husband, like work our schedules that way. Thank God. The happiest day was when I got laid off like a year later. I was like, this is amazing. And then I found out I was pregnant with Stella. So I ended up being home for like a year and a half, with them until I went back to work, but again, did the same kind of thing. But it was kind of like you couldn't turn the money down because at least I had like flexible hours, but I don't know how people do it when they have to go back to work and leave their babies. Like, oh my God, it's just like so heart-wrenching. So hard. Anyway, yeah. But like the thing I want to say though is like I feel like you approach this VA business like from a space of abundance. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
so much of my interaction and seeing how people promote their VA businesses like on LinkedIn or in the DMs, it makes it seem like you know, it's like they're selling 7-Eleven Slurpees and you are selling like the filet mignon at Capitol Grill, and that everybody's like, yes, I can't wait for this experience, and I really think that stands out, because other people might say, well, VA, like they're just a dime a dozen, it's a commodity, but like, I love how you're helping people build real businesses where they don't treat themselves like that.
Absolutely. I am of the belief, just like if you hold a seed in your hand, that seed already contains the tree, the massive, majestic
Oh, I
tree.
love that.
Every single person has their seven-figure business inside of them. And I think the VA industry is the most incredible pathway to get started, whether you want to be a VA for the rest of your life, or it's this pathway into running your own business, stepping into your leadership, your CEO, like your queendom, all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
Industry's blowing up, like from the abundance perspective. I mean, more
Yeah.
and more companies are hiring VAs that saves business owners up to 78% operating costs. Like,
Yeah.
the industry is just going to continue to explode. It's exploding and it's red hot chili pepper vibes.
It is. I know. It's so true, especially in sales too. Like I work with a lot of virtual sales teams and do consulting actually on one still because it's like this is so easy. I can do this for a few hours in my sleep. And so and it is true. Like so many companies like hiring out like contracted 1099 type employees because I mean they can let them come but also let them go whenever they want. But then if you do a great job, you're likely to be hired on again in a different capacity. So it's so amazing. Now, my next question though is because you have 3 kids. Now, you have hit this milestone of can you tell everybody what it is? I don't want to steal your thunder, but
Oh
like
my God.
it is for somebody who made $100 in what 6 months or whatever you said. You think you said no? I'm like or whatever. Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah.
Please share with everybody what this
Okay.
was.
I think I have to tell the backstory too. So
Yes, 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 yes.
when I was making 100, or in that 6 months time where I made $132, the whole time I had this 369 manifestation abundance journal. Every single day I was writing, I am a 20K cash month CEO every single day. And the 369 journal, you write it like a million times a day,
Yeah.
still have that stashed away. So I hit, it was a 30K month because I kind of shifted my goal. So I hit a 30K month 7 months into when the business started monetizing. And as soon as I hit that, the 30K month, I was like, 100K months. Like it's gonna happen. Like this is it. So that was July 2023 was the 30K month. August 2023, I started claiming I'm 100K cash month CEO. I posted a reel in August. It's like, watch me celebrate 100K cash months.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. Like it's just gonna happen. And some of the things that I did too was very much reevaluate the structure of my business, my
Yeah.
programs, my containers, my boundaries to hold that, and also to show up in leadership as that person. I have an amazing team that supports the business and supports me. And January 2024 was 100K cash month. It was like 101 and like $900, which I'm just like, it's so karmic. I feel like that was a God thing. God's like, here you go. Like, and the funny part too is I like the month closed and I'm not a numbers person. I have a bookkeeper and my husband's kind of the numbers person. And so I was like, it was like an 85K cash month. We're en route. Like, what an amazing month. I'm so grateful. And then yesterday morning, or no, was it 2 days ago? My bookkeeper was like, I'm just closing out the books. You realize you had a 100K month. I'm like, no, what? Like this gift from God yesterday. I was like, yep, you had a 100K cash month. Here you go. I'm like, what is this? This is crazy.
Is that like after expenses and stuff? Like, or like your sales and cash sales that you make? I feel like everybody says something different?
No, that's just cash that the
Yeah.
business brought in.
Oh
Yeah.
no, that's amazing. I love it. So why do you think? Because I feel like there's a lot of people sitting there who are like, holy shit, this is insane. Because that was only like a year, right? Like a year went by, a year ago. Like what if you told Bre on New Year's Eve 2023, like in a year from now, you have a business and it makes 100K a month? Like, what would Bre have said back then?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. So, yeah, December 2022, I earned $70. Um, and if
That's
you
when
had
we were
told
in
me,
the program together. Pardon, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but that's I think when we
that's
were
when we
together in
connected.
that program. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had told me that then, I would have been like, like that sounds really cool, but what? It's like I
Yeah.
think I would have believed it, but I would have been like, really? How? Like,
Wow.
because at that time I was not monetized. I wanted it. I was hungry. I was all in. There was no plan B. But I don't even think then my eyes, like I just wanted to make 10K months or 20K months,
Yeah.
30K months. My eyes are not yet. But it's like it's that compounding confidence and belief and momentum. Once you see it happen, you realize like, ooh, anything's possible. And what got you there won't get you here, but at the same time, it will, in that it's those 1% tweaks once you start compounding and monetizing and get that momentum.
Well, and I feel like another big part of it is also a great idea.
Mm.
Like knowing when you have a great idea in front of you that you become, I mean, passionate about, right? So is that because I think when we met, because I was looking so forward to this conversation because so often people aren't so close to the evolution, like they're not like in the feelings and in the depths and like it's been a while or it hasn't happened yet or something. You know what I mean? And so I love this because it feels like just yesterday that we were in that program. And I think you were selling like confidence coaching for moms, right? Like trying to get moms to be more confident and happy and all of that, right? And so how did you like what do you think made this work, the mom to VA, and not the other stuff,
Absolutely. And I know exactly what it was one, mom confidence is amazing, but it's not super tangible or measurable. And like what I've learned in business is that people will move when there's something tangible they can hold at the end. Having a 5K a month VA business at the end of a 3-month program, so fucking tangible.
Yeah.
Um, but so that was one of the biggest shifts. The other massive shift for me was in motherhood. Yeah, I was confident and I was joyful, but the finances were like our whole family was suffering and struggling. And it's not like we had a great life, but it was you go to the grocery store, having to double check prices, like say no to the trip when you really want to say yes. And I was like, I don't want to live like that. Like I want a yes life. I want to be able to give my kids the most beautiful childhood and have an amazing motherhood too, like abundant. And so finding a way that really changed my own life is like I helped myself first. And when I found it, I'm like, every mom freaking needs to know about this. Like, this is amazing. So, really helping myself first, finding something that worked for me. I think the other thing that was unique to my story and my journey was that I did not go through a VA program to figure out how to launch my business. Like, I just did it. And I didn't even know in the process what I was doing it, but it all unfolded really fast because I was super intuitively led. I was super hungry. Like I wanted it to happen. And I was like, no plan B, no matter what. And so the process that I teach in my program, Mom to VA, is mine alone. Like there's no other hand in it. Like it was my process and strategy, and my students
Yeah.
crush it. I think that's because it's not, it's not some watered down version from
Yeah.
the industry. It's where like this is it. Like, and this freaking works. And it
Yeah.
works for them.
Yeah, there are so many like copycats out there for sure. Like I can look at some people and be like, I know who you're working with because you're using the same exact 3 words that that person uses, and it's so boring.
I
Like,
think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and I'm like, come the fuck on. Like, can we
Yeah.
not get a little more? But
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Another topic for
Yeah.
another day.
Yeah.
But I love how you said there's like a measurable, tangible result. Like I feel like I'm in the same like similar place with where you were a year ago because and this is actually part of like the next question too about, there's always this pressure to choose between your family or your career. And especially like as a mom, like I remember in my 20s being like standing there at company meetings and being like, oh, like it's too bad those people in their 30s had to like drop their career or like go back and just be reps when they were regional managers, like like it's great they have families, but it's like it made me sit there and be like, what if I know I want a family one day, like what's the point in trying harder? Like what's the point in like doing all this other stuff to work my way up if I'm probably just gonna be here and I can work less here anyway? Like there's that. But there's also that inner pride of like working your way up and creating something and being a leader and having a team and have it perform well. It's just unsustainable if you're a mom to be able to do that because of all the travel you'd have to do in corporate. So I feel like though in the coaching world too, though, well, and just in entrepreneurship, I don't want to say coaching world, but in entrepreneurship, there's also, I feel like this kind of pressure to choose between one or the other because you could get balls deep in a million different things, which I'm guessing your very talented clients and staff are able to help people with, right? Like
Yes.
offloading like a lot of those tasks and things like that. But then like how do you balance this? Like how like as you're growing your business, obviously you're not just selling your mom to VA program now. You've got your mastermind and adding other things, and building this into and you mentioned like in some of your posts how you're building like several different branches to have $1 million businesses. So how are you balancing that with your kids and having your kids around all the time too? Because I know the thought of like I love my kids and I don't get a lot done when they're around, you know what I mean? Or they're fighting and then you can't concentrate, you know what I mean? But
Mhm,
how do you
mhm.
balance all of that and still make it work and still maintain your sanity?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. Okay, so we'll start with business first and my belief about business, and then we can move into
Yeah.
motherhood structure and all of that. So one of the most important things to know for all the business owners is that your business is the evolution of you, and that's what keeps your community and your people in your world. It's like, what is she going to do next? Like, oh my gosh, like I just need to be in her world because it's this unfolding rocket ship of beauty and fun and vibes and all the things. And so you are not like your program, and this was something I went through too, is building up Mom to VA. I was like, I don't want to just be a VA coach because even, in the growth of my own business, now I help coaches crush it in my mastermind, scaling to 50K months because I've done that in my own business and it's so freaking fun. And so knowing that you get to evolve your beliefs, your identity, and that's what keeps your people coming back for more. So it gets to be this fun game of just growth and evolution. And you are, like I always say, you are your brand. Like, I advise my students, don't have your, like on Instagram, for example, don't have your at handle be your program, like have it be your name. You are your brand. You get to evolve and grow. And that's part of the fun of business. It's like there are no rules. It's this game that we get to play. And the more we grow, the more our businesses grow. So I think that's helped me a lot in just not being in a box, even within motherhood of like, let's just see what unfolds. Like it's so fun. And, part of you mentioned I have 4 different offers, I guess, in my offer suite that will be their own 7-figure income streams. And it really solves like kind of following the ascension model of like helping them address my 7-figure society is like the identity of wealth and the 7-figure woman. It has nothing to do with dollars. But that's a pivotal piece to being successful when you follow the strategy in Mom to VA, and then my mastermind Audacious. And then I also have a VA agency that pairs coaches with VAs. So that's kind of it's just been this organic evolution too of like my students in Mom to VA crushed it. And some of them are like, Bre, like, I want to do what you're doing. And so I created a program to help them do that. And then that turned into the mastermind. It's completely organic.
Oh
Like,
my God, so cool.
yeah. And then like the agency was completely organic. One of my coaches in a mastermind that I was in was sending me other coaches from this program. And eventually he's like, I think we could do something with this and like turn it into a thing. Completely organic. And then 7-figure society was totally organic too, just because I saw it's like if people, if my students had this one thing in place, like they would be even more successful in my world. Um, and then on the motherhood side was I think one of the biggest things that I see is moms try to silo their identities of I'm a mom over here, I'm a wife over here, and I'm a business owner over here, and they can't overlap. Like I see this like my kids can't see me working, they can't see me on my laptop or my phone. I can only work behind closed doors. Like that's just like this combustion, like volcano, it's gonna explode. So when you can just have all of it and like know it's going to be messy and chaotic, but like what a freaking gift that we get to do this in the midst of motherhood. Like let it be messy. Let yourself get interrupted. Expect the interruptions. It's all good. Like what a gift that we get to do this
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Oh my God, I love it. It's so true. It's so true. 'Cause like it's being able to see that big picture. And I love how you say that it just evolved over time, and it it was so organic. Because I feel like so many times we try to like force offers or force things, like what's my mastermind going to be? What's it going to be called? What's blah blah blah. But like organically there's something in there for you. You know what I mean? And so like we were saying before about being organic and having things just evolve, because it's like I'm asking about the burnout part, like how do you make sure that you're not burning out as a mom? And because you've got three little ones. I've got two little ones. Mine are 8 now and 6. I'm like, how old are they? They're 8 and 6. But like growing my business with them home um felt like I felt like I take on a lot from the household, and I actually just got back from a like a weekend trip. It was an in-person event in Boston with one of my mentors, Rosie Victoria. And so she is like on that the spiritual side and like psychic business coach. And I've been with her for, off and on for like a few years now. So, but they like individual energy healings with these two like amazing mother-daughter duo that literally one was at one end of you, the other was at the other, and they were using like holy fire Reiki and theta healing. And then Rosie was doing the body work and then asking questions to like open things up. So like you literally had three things, and I had no idea what was going to come up. But for me, what came up was they were like, I'm laying there and she's like, your adrenals are a mess right now. Like your hormones are all kinds of jacked up. Like she was pulling through like physical things that started when I was 7, when like my family, yeah, it like goes back to childhood from where I started in and I entered into this fight or flight mode at such an early age and was surrounded by so much chaos and change and like household disruptions, thing like trauma at a lot of different levels. But like me being my normal self, I'm like, I'm gonna put my roller skates on. Like nobody ever taught me about that. Nobody ever seemed to care whether it was going to cause trauma or anything like that. And so my whole life, I guess I can feel where there were moments where obviously things have been more, stressful than others. And I think becoming a mom, adding that, like, I think ever since becoming a mom, it's laid on the fight or flight even more, and that's not even counting sitting there and having a fight break out like in your living room.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I
like
mean?
trying to lead a call and you're like breaking up a fight
Like, I don't know
simultaneously.
what's happening in the other room, and all I hear is screaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now I'm actually like getting acupuncture. I'm doing all the supplements, doing all the and this time last year I started in with breath work. Well, now like I feel like I'm at that same place you were last year where like I know I'm really great at sales strategy. I've been in sales for 23 years, 24 years, but like adding this breathwork component in to help increase your magnetism, increase your sales, but also stabilize your body, especially as a busy high achiever like we are, like you say you're number one. Fuck yeah. Like why be anything less unless you're going to get paid the same? You know what I mean? Like that's how,
I love
but
it.
like how do you help your clients and help yourself? Like I see you on your Insta stories. I'm like, how is she still going? They're like, how is this still going? You've got 3 kids at home and you're doing this and this and this. Like, what do you do that keeps you regulated?
Okay. Love this question. First, the business is set up. So it's a company. There's a full team. I have one of the book, 10x is easier than 2x. If you're an entrepreneur, go freaking read that book. It's amazing. It will change the way you think about business. But, he talks about how important team is, and you delegate 80%. You stay in your top 20% needle moving. And that's as you grow and evolve, that's constantly shifting and, changing what you're working on. And so I've very intentionally, I hired early. I have a full support team. This is what allows me to be a present, abundant mom, like the 100K cash month, zero frazzle, zero frantic energy, zero stress because I'm so supported. The other thing is very intentional structure to my programs and boundaries. And most of my programs now do not take my one-to-one time. So I'm able to fully show up and serve and support in my CEO energy, but I don't have, my calendar is not full of one-to-one calls. It's served in kind of a group capacity. If someone does want one-to-one time, that's, a different container, different conversation. So that's more on like the business strategy and structure. And this is what I support my students with in my Audacious Mastermind. But the other note to this, like you were talking about, breath work and all of that is I believe business is holistic and our business can only grow as much as we grow. And most of my work days, before I even open my laptop and start any kind of work thing, I do the inner work first. I love like the somatic embodiment flows, like using the body, just really tapping back into me and in the inner work. And I think like that's why I launched, for example, my 7-figure society, because without that, like this, it's like two people can follow the same strategy. One person's off to the moon and the other person's like, how the F did you just do that? And it's
Yeah.
the inner work. Business is holistic.
Mhm.
So yeah, all of that, like breath work and just the somatic, the subconscious, rewiring the subconscious is so freaking important. And I think just normalizing too, like it gets to be messy. Like I'll be trying to do a visualization or meditation and my kids are climbing on me. And, of course, like ideally I would be completely alone and it's quiet. But in motherhood, I mean, when you have young kids, like just is what it is. And learning to roll with it all and just be flexible and open. And it is what it is. Like it gets to be messy. We get to do this in the midst of all of it.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. So now, in terms of, I think this would be such a helpful thing to explain to people as well. Like when you, in terms of where to start with your team, like where did you decide to go so that you can feel supported? Because I think when people think of like team, right, as you're growing your business, clearly, there's certain functions like podcast, like the little admin things and stuff like that. But I'm guessing for you, it goes a lot even deeper than that. So, what do you recommend for people who don't know where to start? Like, who would they hire first out of your arsenal of clients?
I love it. Yes, come to me if you need a VA. Okay, so I'll just walk through kind of my own hiring journey. The
Yeah.
first hire that I made was like just a couple weeks after Mom to VA started monetizing. I hired a co-coach and she was available to support. She was my very first client in the program. She crushed it. She booked 2 of her own clients in 48 hours. And she's like,
Awesome.
this is amazing. I love to hire from my programs because they care about the mission and they've experienced the transformation. So co-coach, she was available to coach when I couldn't, if I had, family vacation or a kid was sick or whatever. And that's huge peace of mind because knowing you don't have to be on at all times if, in the midst of motherhood, inevitably things come up. And then she also took over a daily admin thing for the program that took quite a bit of my time. And it was not the highest use of my time. And like really everyone who's listening to start thinking like if you're scaling a company, you are the CEO, you're not the one who does it all. Companies do not just have one person in them. So that was the first hire. And she just supported me for the next couple of months. And then in May, I brought on a community manager. I have an amazing Facebook group where I nurture and serve my ideal clients. Actually, Cassie was in there last week. We did a training together.
You did.
And she started helping me manage that group. And because that was taking a lot of my time during the day, and it wasn't necessarily the best use of my time, accepting new member requests, tagging them in the welcome post, all of that. So she started doing that. And then it was a very natural progression. She's like my right hand now, like freaking adore her. She's amazing. Like, don't go anywhere, Mel. I love you. Um, but just organically, it's like I saw how she worked and moved, and I'm like, she's amazing. And so it was just little things like, oh, Mel, can you take on this? Can you take on that? And so she does a lot. She's like the whole company's like community and client manager now. She does a lot of like setting up new clients and kind of tracking enrollments and like when their end dates are and making sure they get the right things and ordering the welcome gifts, all of that. So that was a key second hire. Definitely, as you're scaling your business, having some kind of client and community manager is so important. Going to get you out of like the day to day. That's not the best use of your time when you're coaching and leading and getting visible. Um, and then the next hire was sales support. This was key, 100% commission role. Like if I win, they win. Also someone who'd been through my program and just experienced the most insane transformation. So she could easily talk about it, was super passionate about it. And then I hired an OBM, which is kind of like operations, all things. And she supports me with like launches and like dissecting the data, which is not my zone of genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have more team too, but I would say those were kind of the four key hires as my business started scaling and monetizing. And I think, if you haven't hired yet or you're in the early phases of hiring, what you can know that I think will hopefully be like balm on your soul is you don't have to hire a full-time person. Like hire someone for 2 hours a week to get started. Like just
Yeah.
practice delegating, practice getting in your leadership. And as you release the tasks that keep you in the weeds, it kind of gets to be this fun game that you play. You're like, what else do I not need to be doing so that
Yeah.
I can do like the high dollar and high value things?
It's so true. There's so many things that all add up.
Mhm.
Because everything from graphics to Insta stories and freaking podcast editing or uploading, like I was telling my husband the other, like a year ago, I was like, yeah, every single podcast episode requires all of these steps just to upload. Like it's not as simple as just upload it and be done. And sometimes when you get busy, those can be the first, and if you don't have a process, right? Like what I see with my clients is that's like the first thing to go. Like that's these things that are meant to increase your visibility and nurture your customers and help bring in leads become heavy, and they start to feel heavy, and they start not to feel fun. So, I know in my experience, you got to have fun in order to make more money, or else like you're not going to want to do it. You're going to look for other
Mhm.
things to do.
Mm,
So
definitely.
how do you make sure like how do your clients in your VA clients um add fun into signing their own clients? Because it sounds like that is a big part of your vibe as well, and making sure that they're being hired by people that they're going to want to stick with for a while.
Definitely. So when I mentioned earlier that you are your own brand, it's the frequency of you. It's something that can never be replicated. I believe every single person has a seven-figure business inside of them. And how you bring that to life is you. So, even when you're starting out as a VA, brand new business, you've maybe never run your own business before, it's really tapping back into you. That is what people feel and why they hire you. And like all my VA students get a plug and play portfolio template, which is amazing because it makes that process super easy. But the biggest thing that I tell them is like, do not use stock photos. Do not,
Yeah.
copy and paste from Chat GPT. Like bring you into it
Yeah.
and like bring the things that make you weird are the things that are going to magnetize your ideal clients to you. So
Yeah.
if you love coffee, like put that all over your portfolio. Have fun with it. Name your packages after coffee. If
Oh,
you
I love
love
it.
hiking, like one of my clients, she loves hiking with her family. She's a homeschool mom. So all of her packages were named after local trails and each had a different picture of her with her kids on that
Oh my
hiking trail.
God, that's so cool.
That's why people hire you. They hire you for you, not because you're some cardboard copy of something else or a stock photo. Like put your
Yeah.
freaking face on it. People
Yeah.
want to see who you are.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with my cousin. We were both like going into training or going into management, like in our 20s, right? And so she was a district manager at the time. And I remember her like She actually went out with like an interview, like she had an interview whatever at 4 o'clock, and then ended up going out, taking that interviewee out to dinner, and then they went out like had drinks afterwards, and like she ended up being hired and stuff. And I was like, how can you like how do you make your decision on who to hire? And she's like, honestly, I want to spend a good amount of time with them. So because I'm going to be sitting in the car with them for 8 hours, for 2, 3 days in a row every single month. And I need to know that I can stand to be around them. And so it's like that personality, like I need to know we're going to get along. And
Yeah.
I mean, they can do the job. It's just, are we going to get along? And so it sounds like that's, I mean, it is like that's so transferable into this industry as well, especially when you're going to be somebody's right-hand man or woman.
Yeah. Like, and that's what I tell them too, is like, you do life and business with this person. Like, you're their right hand. And,
Yeah.
so many VA clients too, or ones that hire VAs are moms. And so, and they prefer to work with moms. Like, they want to hire moms. We get
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. So, okay, how do people find you, Bre, and where can they come follow you and get completely jacked up and high on life on all of your social media like I do?
I love it. Yeah. Come find me on Instagram. My handle is at Hey, it's Bre Cain. So that's HeyItsBreCain. And just send me a message. Like, I want to chat with you. I want to hear what stood out to you, what questions you have from this episode. And we can go from there. My link in bio has all the things. So you can always peek around, but just come talk. Let's chat. Let's hang out. Let's have fun.
I love it. And you will definitely have fun with Bre. So thank you so much, Bre, for coming on the podcast. And man, once you hit 200K, we'll do a follow-up. How about that?
All right. I'll be back on soon then.
That's right. Oh my God. Thank you all. And I will see you all next week. Go find Bre and send her a message. Go have a chat.
Come
Bye.
play.